Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. This is the podcast where we help you challenge your mindset and discover where you are. Tired of stories about other people's success? We can help you change your life, determine your time freedom point, and join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ideal Investor Show, where I bring you interesting information and interesting guests that have to do with money, investing, financial industry, and so forth. And one of the things I want to address today, I put the title on my little note card. I called it Irrational Interpretation. And what I mean by that is, I've spoken a bunch, and I'm sure anybody listening to us who is interested in, let your money work and other people's money working for you and your money working for you and so forth, you inherently pay at least some attention to what is going on in the financial industry and in the news and stuff like that. I'm always saying, we should reduce the amount of TV, but some information, even if it's through the internet or so forth, is necessary, and we want to be informed, obviously. But what has happened, in my opinion, now and throughout the last few years is literally that we get into the point where there are more and more organizations who try to make money with anything related to money and financial news. And so there is a tendency to look for the next catastrophe. And you guys all know that one of the things that is part of human nature is that we went through evolution to have fight or flight. Are we actually going to stay and fight if something unusual is happening, or are we going to run away and save ourselves and our family for the next day? This whole notion of constantly reporting bad news is basically triggering that something is bad, and so we actually trigger fear and want to run away from it. So what happened recently, and I don't know if many of you saw it, but I really feel this was a completely over-the-top irrational interpretation, was that the news hit on a weekend. And we have to keep in mind, if you are in the US or if you're in Europe or stuff like that, Japan and Australia and those places are like many, many hours ahead. So when our day hasn't even started, most of the time in Japan, their business day is pretty much over already. So sometime on a Sunday, the news came across the news media that the stock market in Japan was tanking and crashing and all these kind of really horrible words. And at the end of their business day, the stock market in Japan had gone down 12.5%. And so the news media was now actually really, really happy and click crazy because they could put out all this information that obviously, because that happened in Japan, there will be some sort of a reaction in the United States as well. And they weren't wrong. So at certain points in time, the US stock markets like the Dow and the S&P and the Nasdaq and so forth were down 8% and 6% and so forth. By the way, at the end of the day, they ended up being down about 2.5%. So their reaction to what had happened in Japan was much subdued. But so here we were, all the markets around the world were going down. That in and of itself wasn't really the thing that I call irrational interpretation. The crazy thing that happened was that in Japan, the next day, so keep in mind, the news started on Sunday. Then on Monday, everybody in the news media was reporting about it, anticipating how it would go in the US market. And then at night, the Japanese market opened again. And guess what? It went down 12.5% the day before, and it then went back up almost 11%, like 10.8, making up almost all the losses of the day before. But the problem, and where I'm really getting ticked, is with this irrational interpretation. There is so much content being generated so fast these days that now you can go and find article after article after article basically saying, the recession is here, we have been telling you, the world is ending, the markets are crashing, this is just the beginning. Well, and obviously they had no answer whatsoever when the next day it was all over. Does that mean that the markets are up or down and whatever they're going to do and that we have or won't have a recession? No. But it's completely irrational to take a single event in one country in their stock market in one day and basically try to interpret from that how the world is going to be in the next 6 to 12 months. And that's the irrational part about it. And because it happened in such a stark example, one day up, one day down, and we're writing basically what the impact is for the next year, that should really tell you not to listen to this stuff. And only really doing your own due diligence, doing your own research. And as real estate investors, we shouldn't listen to this stuff anyway, because we are long-term investors. We have a goal. We want to reach financial freedom, the time freedom point in financial independence. And that we all know never going to happen on a day or a week. But I think it's a stark example of how this whole hype cycle that is getting shorter and shorter. Now it's like a week, and then it's a day, and then it's hours. Is trying to tell us and manipulate us on every little event and what the impact could be for the foreseeable future. And you will never see that anybody says, hey, yesterday I wrote to you that the recession is upon us, and today I have to say I totally screwed up and it was all wrong. No, never will they ever take anything back that is being put out there. So please don't be influenced by this stuff. And lean back, observe the chaos, and just know that we are long-term investors and not gamblers. And let everybody else who thinks they need to, let them gamble, and let us continue to invest. That's it for today. Be well and stay safe. And today I say, don't listen to this stuff. Be sure that you have the right strategy and the right team, and let's continue down the path to achieve our goals.